Welcome back, design junkies, to Mechanical Engineering Made Simple. If you enjoy the explainer, show your support with a like, a follow, or a comment. Let's keep designing, learning, and leveling up together. Today we are diving deep into one of the most exciting and honestly one of the most chaotic parts of our job, the very beginning of new product development. You know, people call it the fuzzy front end for a reason. It's messy, it's unclear, but it is absolutely where the magic happens for creating something truly new. The great Yogi Berra probably wasn't talking about product design, but he might as well have been, right? Without a map, innovation is pretty much just a shot in the dark. You can have the most brilliant idea in the world, but if you don't have a process to guide it, you could end up absolutely nowhere near a successful product. So how do we find our way through that fog?
Well, in this explainer, we're going to walk through a 4-part roadmap to bring some serious clarity to that chaos. First, we'll talk about building the right foundation. Then we'll find our direction with the customer's voice. After that, we'll fire up the creative engine by designing in wish mode. And finally, we'll learn how to protect those fragile new ideas. So let's get started with the foundation.
First up, the foundation. Look, you can have the most brilliant engineers, the most creative designers on the planet, but if the environment isn't set up for success, those breakthrough ideas are just going to wither and die. And that environment, it gets set from the very top of the organization. This slide right here shows a classic trap that so many companies fall into. I call it the ironic inverse. See, early on, when your ability to really influence a project's direction is at its peak, very few resources are invested, and leadership is, well, kind of MIA. But later on, when millions have been spent and the design is basically locked in, that's when senior management swoops in. And at that point, making any real changes is incredibly expensive and frankly, almost impossible. So how do you fix this? How do you flip that script? The solution is an innovation steering committee. Now, this is not just another boring meeting to add to the calendar. It's a small, dedicated group of senior leaders who are actively involved from day one. Their very presence sends this powerful message to the entire company. Hey, innovation isn't a side project. It's a core priority, and it's worth our time. The whole job of this committee is to answer the big, strategic questions before the teams even start designing. They're setting up the guardrails. What's our vision? What are our financial targets? Where should we be playing? And just as important, where should we not be playing? Answering these connects that high-level strategy directly to what the product teams are doing on the ground. Okay, so with that leadership foundation in place, the team has its green light. But where do they go? Where do they point their efforts? The answer is always the customer. The customer's voice is the compass for this entire journey.
And this is a super important point. We have to understand the difference between a need and a solution. No customer ever said, you know what I need? A microwave oven. But for decades, they expressed needs like, I wish I could heat my leftovers without them turning into shoe leather, right? The microwave oven is the technical solution to those underlying needs. Our job is to dig for the needs, not just ask people to invent solutions for us.
So that brings us to the key question, doesn't it? If we can't just ask customers what they want, how do we actually gather the voice of the customer, or VOC, to find those deep unmet needs? You've really got two main ways to go: focus groups and one-on-one interviews. Now, focus groups can be good for finding a general consensus, but for what we want, which is to generate the broadest possible list of needs, individual interviews are just so much more powerful. Why? Because they let you go off on tangents with one person. You can dig super deep into a specific problem without worrying about losing the rest of the group. And trust me, that's where you find the gold. Okay, so once we have a really deep understanding of our customers' problems, it's time to fire up the engine of creation. And we're not just looking for tiny little improvements here. We are hunting for breakthroughs, and that requires a totally different mindset, something called customer idealized design. The core idea here is really simple but incredibly powerful. You basically tell your customers, forget about what exists today. Imagine it was all gone, poof, overnight. If you were starting from a completely clean slate, what would your ideal product or your ideal experience be if you could have literally anything you wanted? This just vaporizes the constraints of today and lets creativity really take off. Let's look at a brilliant, real-world example of this from IKEA. They asked customers to design their ideal shopping experience. And the specs that came back weren't about shelf heights or product colors. Nope. They were about feelings and outcomes, not getting lost, finding things that go together, and actually having a relaxing, pleasant time. And this is just so cool. Based on that wish list, the customers themselves sketched out a totally new store layout, an octagon with a central open area.
It was literally designed to solve that problem of feeling lost and disoriented. And the best part? IKEA actually built.
So, did it work? Oh yeah, it worked. A staggering 93% of shoppers at the new store said they would definitely or probably shop there again. By letting customers design in wish mode, IKEA didn't just tweak their store. They created an experience that people loved and wanted to come back to.
Now, a process like this, listening to customers, designing in wish mode, it's going to generate some wild ideas. And the final challenge is protecting those fragile new concepts from getting crushed by the corporate immune system before they even have a chance to grow. This means we need a different kind of tool, a filter.
For this, we can use a framework called SWIFT. It's a 5-step process that's designed to evaluate new ideas fairly, not just by pointing out what's wrong with them, but by systematically making them stronger. And the order you do this in is incredibly important. Let's just imagine we're the team at 3M looking at that low-tack adhesive that became the Post-it note. Using SWIFT, you first identify the strengths, but you frame them as possibilities. This might work because. Then you identify the weaknesses. But here's the critical part. Before you try to fix anything, you identify its individuality. What makes this thing truly unique? In this case, of course, it was the reusability. And that's the whole key. By identifying what's unique before you fix the weaknesses, you make sure that your fixes don't accidentally kill the novelty. The whole point of the last 2 steps, fixes and transformation, is to solve the problems while protecting the very thing that makes the idea special in the first place. It's about strengthening, not watering it down. So there you have it. We've gone from a fuzzy, vague idea all the way to a focused, strengthened concept. Let's do a quick recap of the awesome toolkit we've just built. Here it is, your toolkit for turning those fuzzy ideas into focused impact. You've got an innovation steering committee to provide leadership. You've got the voice of the customer to act as your compass. You've got customer idealized design to generate those breakthroughs. And you've got the SWIFT framework to give those novel ideas a real fighting chance. Together, these tools create a seriously powerful system for innovation. Each of these tools is a step towards building a systematic, repeatable process for making cool new stuff. They take the fuzziness out of the front end and replace it with focus, with purpose. So the final question I'll leave you with is this. Your next breakthrough is out there waiting. Are you creating the culture, and are you using the right tools to actually go out and find it?